All right, Malva from Nicaragua. So talk to us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Malva Izquierdo. I'm from Nicaragua. Nicaragua is located in the middle of the continent, basically, the American continent. Is in what we call Central America, and is to the north with Honduras, to the south with Costa Rica, that I'm sure you've heard of as well. And it's a very warm country, sunny most of the year. There's also a rainy season that lasts for 6 months, but I always feel that it gets the country even warmer because it's just like all the steam from the ground goes up after it rains. So yes, a very hot country. We have the Pacific Ocean, so a lot of like nice beaches for surfing, but also we have the Caribbean and like the Atlantic Ocean, where it's also very nice for tourism as well, very calm waters. We're called the
I'll say it really quick for the guys here. So my wife and I went to Honduras years back, and we helped a Rotary club put a school together
Nice.
for a village out in Honduras. We stayed in Roatan, but then we went to Honduras to go help them out. So it was kind of fun. So anyway, so it goes back to, again, the Rotary concept of being able to support others, and being a Rotarian, you can go all over the world. It's kind of neat. So sorry, go ahead.
Yes, and I've never been to Honduras, but I've heard that it's very nice. It has a lot of like different areas, like landscapes, because it's also a bit up north.
But I never realized how close it was to Nicaragua.
Yeah, it's in the border. And yes, I saw as well in Nicaragua, there's like a Rotary club. It's for a specific area in the capital. And it's helping build schools and like promoting like education for young people. I'll tell you more about that as well. So yeah, so I was initially like I was born in Cuba, and I went to live to Nicaragua because my father is Nicaraguan when I was 2 years old. And I was living there since then until I came to the UK to study. Roughly the population is 6.5 million people. The main language that we speak is Spanish, but there is also specifically in the Atlantic coast, there's also like Afro-American communities that also speak Creole because of back in the times of the colonization, we also had like a British invasion, but only on the Atlantic coast. Religion was mostly Catholics, but we also have Christians. There's also like a Mormon society community. There's also a specific part of the Catholicism with the Jesuits, and we also have like the Jewish community, a very strong Jewish community, but mainly like Catholicism is like the strongest religion we have in Nicaragua. In terms of race, we are very mixed. When we were colonized by the Spaniards, they also brought people from Africa, so we have a mix between like whites, but also mixed race. And we also have some Native American population in specific areas of the country. So it's like around 86% of the population is varied of the different like mixed races living in the country historically, and also from like migration from other areas as well. The remainder of the Nicaraguan population is like 9% English-speaking Afro-Nicaraguans, which is like what I was saying before. And also 5% is tribal Native American communities as well. They speak their own language, they have their own government, and they're very protective of their land and of the nature, basically, like the main like species of plants and animals as well. So it's very nice to see as well that there is some inclusion in terms of being proud of how mixed we are in Nicaragua and the different races and religions as well.
I'm not familiar with mestizos. What is a mestizos?
It's like mixed race, like For example, I would be considered a mestiza because it would be a mix between maybe Spanish ancestry, but also Native American. So yeah, be mixed race. I've shared some pictures. Some of them I have taken myself when I've worked over the years my career in journalism. This is one of them, just to show you like the different features and how we generally look in Nicaragua. This is a woman from a very rural area. She owns a small land where she grows plantain. As you can see, she's trying to gather the plantain from the trees. What else do we have? Yes, we have also some like men from the Caribbean coast. I didn't take this picture, but a colleague of mine did, and they're fishermen. This was a young student from the university I was studying, where I did my undergrad in Nicaragua. She's from the capital, from Managua.
I love the Batman costume.
Yeah. I think she was studying tourism. This is another rural woman as well. That this was a series of pictures of women owning land and how important representation was in this sector.
So women
So-
can own land in Nicaragua?
Pardon?
Women can own land in Nicaragua.
Yes, there was like an update in some of the law when the Sandinistas took place in the 80s. The Sandinistas is the current government at the moment, but when they came to in power the first time, it was like the revolution in the 70s, and they made some adjustments to the law. In this case, for this particular photographic project, these women were fighting to get their land from their husbands, because back then only the men could have land, and they were married to these men who were abusive to them, and they wouldn't have opportunities. So after that update in the law, they could own their own land. So that was part of this series of pictures. Then you have a picture of native Nicaraguan young man who lives in a nature reserve. I didn't take this picture either. And the reserve is called Inyo Maíz. That's where we have one of our iconic animals, which is the jaguar. And this colleague of mine took the picture just to get in the inside this area, protected area, and take some images of the people living there. This is another a young girl that lives in this area as well with her 2 dogs. And I think there's one more from the specific part of Nicaragua. Yes, this young man also lives in the biological reserve Inyo Maíz, but he lives in the corner that is more to the Atlantic coast. So
How old would you say this person is?
I think he's maybe 16.
Okay.
I would say. Yeah, very young. And okay, so yeah, so I added this slide in just to like explain a little bit about how like education works, and what was my experience studying in Nicaragua for, well, ever since kindergarten until primary school, high school, and university with my undergrad. So we use uniforms. We use a white shirt and a blue skirt or blue trousers or pants, I think you say in the US. And the boys also, they use trousers or shorts as well. Sometimes depends if we have sports day. We have public schools, but we also have private schools. And the picture underneath the girls is the school where I studied my high school. It's called Instituto Loyola. It's from part of the Jesuits, and that's where I did from second. Well, I should explain how it works. So I guess from 3 to 5, you're in like kindergarten, as they call it. Like it's just like before you get into like school properly. Then since you're 6 years old until you're 12, you're in primary school, and it starts from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. and then you move to high school. There is no in between, and you start again. So it will be year 1, year 2, up to 5 years in high school. So you finish high school when you're around 17 years old. And then we have our school year is different as well. We start in February and we finish in early December. Yes, it's a mixed classroom, but there are some schools that are more strict. For example, like maybe some like religious private schools where it's just girls or just boys, but that's not as common. Then you yeah.
Do all the and you may have already answered this, but do all of the classes or schools require you to wear uniform, or was it just yours?
All of them required to wear uniform. Yeah, it's a common thing in general. The only thing that would be different is maybe the sportswear. For example, in this my high school, because it's all green and white, they're brand colors. I used to I didn't like the sportswear because it was just like a green like pair of trousers, and it was like very like we used to call ourselves like the little parrots because it was very bright green.
Oh yeah.
So they have some variety in terms of the uniform, but for sports wear, but for like the main classes, it will always be like the white shirt and your blue skirt or trousers. And the only thing that would change would be like the label or the symbol of your school on the left-hand side. Mhm. Then also something else that you were asking me as well. Okay, yeah, I said that, the uniform. We don't enroll in military service. It's not like an obligation. In fact, it's something that is quite like not as active. But back in the 80s, it was a thing. So it was a thing from all 1980 until 1993 or so, where it was like a mandatory.
So we had a guest speaker from Sudan talk about how the military would literally come into their homes and abstract especially the young boys, to train them into military actions, whether they wanted to or not. And I know you mentioned the Sandinistas, which were pretty aggressive rebels at that point in time. So do they do the same thing, or is it not like that at all?
Yes, they used to. That's the time period where they were in charge, and they will force the young boys and girls to join.
Oh, girls too.
But then yes,
the girls too. Wow.
Yeah, and then the like neoliberalism came in 1993 or so, and all of that was abolished. And now when they came back into power, the Sandinistas in 2016, no, 2006. From 2006 onwards, they haven't implemented they haven't brought back anything from the 80s in terms of mandatory military enrollment or anything like that. Hopefully it stays like that.
Yeah. So for these guys, just so you guys, I mean, William and Josh, you guys remember Sudan? They used to just come right into your house and take you and say you're going to go to military. And I don't remember whose dad it was very upset. He said, I can't imagine my 14-year-old sons being taken from my home to go fight a war that's not theirs. And, so we're lucky, we don't have to deal with that stuff. And you guys can follow your education. You can drive your Teslas and use your cell phones anytime you want. All right. So completely different from other countries. And that's what we're hoping you guys get a chance to see how lucky we are in many ways and privileged.
Yeah.
Do a lot of the, is there like a, as you get up into the collegiate areas, is there a certain industry or something that you focus on? Share with us that.
Yes, that was one of your questions as well. So mainly it would be medicine. That's like a big sector, because we have private hospitals, we have public hospitals as well, but there is this like belief that if you're a doctor, you can get your private clinic and get a license or a certification and get like your own business. So there's an area in that most students go through. Communications, in this case, it could be media, journalism, but it could also be anything that has to be with arts or with education in general. So that's another route that they mainly go through. And then there's also engineering as well, but mostly in construction, so like civil engineering. That's very popular. That's actually like one of the main routes as well.
Is there a lot of construction going on now? Is it like to rebuild it from some damages, or is it that they've expanded into the next century? Meaning, we talk to some countries where they have no internet. You know, they use satellite dishes for internet and so on and so forth. Are you guys, is Nicaragua up to speed? I mean, is it westernized from that standpoint?
Yes, in terms of like internet, there are like several companies that are very active in terms of like competition for the best internet, especially in the capital. Like in rural areas, you would struggle a little bit more, but Managua is spreading, so it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's up to date in terms of internet at least. And in terms of construction, it's more like private constructions, like houses, like maybe the suburbs, or another housing plan or project like that. So there is a lot of like income from that locally. So yes, I think, yeah, in terms of like the profession, that would be like the main routes. Then my favorite part, which is like the food. I really miss the food. Last time I was there, me and my husband, we were there for like 6 months, and it was like we were enjoying everything that here in the UK is very difficult. For example, the fruits, as it's such a tropical country, we have all these like juicy and very sweet fruits like mangoes, papayas, pineapple. So that's a picture of like just a common stand
Wow.
next to your house, basically on the road. You go and everything is very cheap in terms of like food, in like fruits and things like that. Then the one at the top is like one typical dish that we have. We usually have it on Sunday morning. My mom had it today and she was like telling me all of this, and I was like, don't tell me these things. Basically, you have this like corn dish with beef or pork, rice, potatoes. It's a very heavy meal, but we usually have it for breakfast, and then you don't eat anything else until dinner. Is wrapped in leaves and put to steam, and then you have that with bread and coffee. So it's called nacatamal.
It looks like a tamale.
Yes, yes, but it's like a big thing, so it has a lot of things inside. And then you can do a bigger one in Christmas where you add more things to it. And yeah, I really like it, so I do miss that. But yeah, I also have some pictures of other typical dishes that we have.
Oh,
I
wow.
think in the next slide we have this one is called fritanga. It's like the typical like on a Friday night, if you don't want to cook, you go to these like on the road restaurants, and they're doing that on the go. Basically, you have on the left is tajadas, which is just like green plantain fried in slices. Then you have fried cheese at the top. On the right hand side, you have sausages. You also have a sweet plantain. That's the one, yeah. Then you have rice and beans in the middle, what we call gallo pinto, and then you have like beef and pork. It's just cute.
I gotta ask, I mean, are there dietary issues? I mean, health issues and stuff in Nicaragua that?
Yes, a lot of issues with like diabetes, kidney disease, and it's because of the meals we have. This one is called bao. And this is like a lady that sells like just outside of her house, basically. And it's everything. I think this one's one of the healthiest, actually.
Wow.
Everything's steamed, and it has a lot of like vegetables and beef, and it's not fried or greasy. It's a very nice meal. But yeah, that's because I'm from there, so I really love it. I really miss it. But yes, so that's another typical one. Then what else can I show you? I think the next slide. So we have all these amazing fruits. I don't know if you've seen these fruits before. It's called dragon fruit in English. Yeah, so you have, at least in the UK, the one that is very common is the one that is white inside. I don't know in California how it is. If you've
You
seen it
usually
in
have to
both
go like
colors.
specialty stores to get stuff like dragon fruit and things like that. You can't just go to Standard Brothers.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't see the one that is like pure magenta here. And that's the one we have plenty
Oh,
in
wow.
Nicaragua. And then the desserts, we have this famous one called, on the left-hand side, is called Tres Leches. And then these sweets, they are made of coconut or milk or specific berries that are local from like very characteristic from Nicaragua. And these are all sweets that are called cajetas. And they sell them everywhere basically, and they're like very traditional sweets. Then places to go visit. This is one of our famous beaches in the Pacific zone. It's called San Juan del Sur. And it's like very like that's the place where if you go for tourism, that's where you should go. And then you have the Caribbean as well. This is a little island north to the like basically a little bit north from the country. It's called Corn Island, and it's like 15 minutes on a boat from the airport in Bluefields in the Atlantic part of the country. It's very beautiful. I've been there
Oh,
once.
look at that.
Then you have volcanoes everywhere. Nicaragua is called the land of lakes and volcanoes. We've been blessed with two big lakes just right in the middle of like the Pacific area, and loads of volcanoes, some of them active, some of them inactive. This one in particular is one of my favorite ones because it's like a perfect shape almost, and its name is Momotombo. And that's when he was active a few years ago. He just like
Wow.
woke up and then started just having all this smoke, and everybody was taking pictures of it. And then now he's a bit dormant again, and every now and then that happens. One of the things that some tourists do is they do volcano surfing.
Huh.
So they go up
Wow.
the hill of one of the volcanoes, and they do this extreme sport, to go down the hill. Then another that's in Cerro Negro, it's called, where they do volcano surfing. And that one at the bottom is an active volcano called
Surfing there.
Masaya volcano. And you can go there at night and see the lava. It's just like one of the things that tourism.
Is it just constant?
Yeah, that one is active all the time.
Wow.
Yeah, that's almost like in the evening, you can do an evening tour. So yeah, I think I covered most of the key things from the country. Now I really miss the food now that I've talked of all the
Yeah.
dishes.
I'm going to go on a diet. So guys, what questions? Thank you, Malva, very much again for doing this. You've shared with me more about Nicaragua than I ever knew. And so thank you very much for doing that. So William and Joshua and Jolynn, this is an opportunity, unless you're planning on going to Nicaragua anytime soon, to answer any of your own questions. But here's Malva, who's willing to share anything about growing up there. Or do you guys have driver's license tests and things like that? That's always something that comes up.
Yes, we do. When we turn 18.
18. Oh, John has a question in there.
Yeah. That question, I had it before as well in my list. So we like to dance a lot. We have some traditional dances, but we also like to dance to like general music, and like different genres that are like known in other countries as well, like pop music or rock music. So we keep ourselves with like the trending songs, but also like very local genres or part of the Latin American community, which could be salsa, reggaeton, merengue, some of those. So we go dancing a lot. At least that's what I used to do when I was a teenager. We used to have like these little parties at school where for one day, once a month or something like that, you could go in your own clothes instead of the uniform, and then you would have like snacks and some like soft drinks and dance in the sports area. So we would have those activities. We would also go to the cinema. So I think it's a very, very common things of like teenagers of like having this specific like sleepovers or going to the cinema or going dancing as well.
Did you have a high school prom?
Yeah, but not like in the US. It would be more like you go get your diploma. For example, I was the one who gave the speech, and then you receive the diploma. Probably you have mass if it's a religious school. And then after that, your parents will take you to a discotheque or a place where you already have your friends, and then you just go dancing there. But they don't have it like in the same school where you actually have go to this dance, get a nice dress, and it doesn't happen like that.
Joshua has a great question.
How big is Nicaragua? That's a good question. Compared to the other countries in Southern America. Well, so compare, for example, to Brazil, is very small. But I guess I don't have that info with me. But it's a good question. To me, it feels like it's very small because it's always like in the middle of that like very fine land that unites north and south. So let me check because I think it's
Well, the
not
whole
as small
population
as
of
I
Nicaragua,
think.
you said, was only 6.5 million, right?
Yes, it's not. It's a lot of people for that small land. I think. It will be in square meters. 130,000 square kilometers. Okay.
Let me do this real fast.
How would that be? Because sometimes that to me doesn't mean as much until you see it with something like, for example, I don't know, 1,000 basketball courts or something like that.
Can you see the picture of on my screen?
Yeah.
Yes,
So that gives you an idea of, here's Brazil.
Brazil is
Oh,
big.
wow.
Yeah. And then you see Nicaragua in the middle on the other map
Yeah,
on the left-hand side, and it's quite small. But yeah,
Peru and Bolivia, yeah.
yeah, you wouldn't see it there. But on the one on the left, you see central.
Here?
You can see it there in that one, yeah. Because the so it's in the very middle, below Mexico, and
Oops. Oh, here you go.
it's very small. Yeah,
Oh, this is about the map.
this size.
There you go.
Well, it says it's the largest country in Central America in square kilometers. So what we call Central America is from Guatemala up to Panama. And then Colombia downwards is South America to us.
So here you go. Here's Nicaragua.
Yeah, it says it's the
in the
biggest
peninsula.
one.
Okay.
So that's good to know.
And there's Mexico. So you have an idea how big Mexico is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it
was
is pretty, it's pretty small. I didn't realize that.
yeah, it's very small.
Compared to
Malva,
Brazil.
what are the main industries, including agriculture?
And agriculture. Yeah, because I would include also like coffee, for example. Coffee, rum, all those products are like one of the main, like in exportation market, it's like one of the main ones. Besides agriculture, I think would be tourism. It's like it's been lower in the last couple of days because of like the civil unrest we had in 2018, things
Mhm.
like that, then COVID. But usually it's tourism. Like we have a specific holidays that are very long. We have a lot of celebrations, and I think that has a lot of impact in the amount of tourists that come in to join us.
What about sports?
Sports, we do baseball and football will be like the main ones.
Football meaning soccer?
Yeah, that's soccer, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
know
no
there's a lot of,
American football, no.
I know there's a lot of baseball players that come from Nicaragua and
Yeah.
South
Yes.
America in general. Yeah.
Yeah, and that they've been chosen to play for like US teams. Yeah.
Mm.
Baseball. It used to be like golden years baseball in the 80s, but now we're also doing like football as well.
Any other questions for as we get closer to the hour here? I want to respect everybody's time.
Yeah, I have a quick
Country
question.
stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, no,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. I was gonna say, do you guys celebrate New Year's? Like, is it like in the first week of like January or like Christmas around?
Yes, we do have that. Yeah, big time.
Okay.
We have also another celebration in December on the 8th. We celebrate the Virgin Mary. So it's very similar to Halloween, because what happens is that people have these like shrines to the Virgin Mary outside of their houses, and you go and sing to her, and they give you things, basically like trick or treat. You have to sing to the Virgin.
William had a question about let's see,
How did
drinking
the
age.
country start? You mean like how did the name start? How did we become a country?
Like the founding of the country.
Mm-hmm. Yes, basically there were several tribes like hundreds of years ago before the Spaniards came, and one of them was called one of the chief was called Nicaragua, and he was like uniting all of these tribes and trying to make them like follow him, and he was very good at that. So the biggest tribes were following him, and they came from Mexico and they settled in Nicaragua, and they call it like that because of that. There's also the origin to the capital, Managua, which is surrounded by water. If you put up the map again, we can see, because I don't think we have the time, we can see that big lake that we have. And inside that big lake, we have a little island with 2 volcanoes. And that lake is famous because it's the only lake in the world that has sharks, as it's not known that sharks would live in a lake or like
Fresh water?
water.
Is it fresh water?
Yes, exactly. So it's not
Ah.
common. So they are the only ones in fresh water instead of salted. So yeah, so I think that's that would be like the origin of like the country. But back then, of course, they didn't know it was a country. They would just say, this is my land or the tribe where I live in. So
This lake right here, you talking about Lake Leon oh yeah, Managua.
yeah, that one's the small one, but then you have
That's
a
the
big
small one?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's why it's called the land of volcanoes
Oh,
and
is this one
lakes.
here? This one
Yes,
here.
oh,
that's the
wow.
one with the island
Oh yeah, right here.
and the 2 volcanoes. Very nice
Oh,
place as well for tourism. I should have added it.
that's okay. That's why this is interactive.
Yes.
Wow.
And the legal drinking age, it's 18. But for voting, it's 21. So yeah.
I always laugh about that. It's like you can't vote until after you had a few drinks. Let's see.
Yeah, it's the other way around. You have access to alcohol first.
Well, any other questions or any last minute comments or anything else like that? Because I do want to respect your time and we have 60 seconds here. So Jolene, you want to close it out?
Yeah, sure. So it's been a really nice speech and I really appreciate your time here. We honestly like learned a lot about like the education, the food for sure. And yeah, we're really looking forward to learning more countries.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Jolene.
Malva, thank you so much for
That's marvelous. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Go back to bed and get a few hours of sleep before you have to go to work.
yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. It was nice to
Right.
meet you all.
Thanks, Malva. So Joshua, anything for you?
Yeah.
You good, Joshua?
Yeah, he's good.
Oh, thumb? Is that going? I think it's like an emoji. Yeah, Joshua's emoji. William, anything on your end?
What?
Anything for you? Any last minute thoughts, comments, ideas? What'd you take away? What'd you learn?
Well, it was interesting to learn that high school is 5 years instead of 4.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Joshua, what'd you learn?
I learned that the leches comes from Nicaragua.
Yeah, there you go.
The sweet
How about you,
tooth like me will remember the dessert.
Yeah, the food was amazing. I do remember we were in Honduras. We had some pretty good food, things I'd never seen before. So it was interesting. How about you, Jolyn?
Definitely like the volcano eruption that you mentioned at the very last, which I'm like totally not familiar with.
Mm.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all. People are going all over to Hawaii to look at volcanoes that erupt every so often. And you guys
Mm.
have one that just is there 24/7. Just still go watch it on YouTube. How about you, John? Anything last minute comments?
The volcanoes is the interesting part, and especially you have one that is constant of going, wow, where is all that lava going? And it's just building a bigger and bigger and bigger mountain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you need to visit.
I didn't realize all of yours. There was no real. Everybody wears a uniform, go to school, and it's interesting because what I learn a lot of times is that when you have consistency from a standpoint of control, there's less issues about, well, your uniform, your school clothes looks like this, my school clothes looks like that, so there's
Mhm.
not a lot to fight about. Maybe you have a different crest or something, but it's all uniform from that standpoint. And then I also remember just back in the 80s and stuff like that, the Sandinista government and so on, and just reading about it and being, watching all the violence and things happening. So it's kind of nice to see it's not there today, and you guys are living more of a normal life. The fact that women can actually buy property, I thought that was interesting to see that, because you don't see that in every country and stuff like that. So it's kind of nice to see that. So anyway, listen, thank you, John. Thank you so much for putting this together. I appreciate you so much, and I know the guys do too.
Malva.
Don't forget, we got another one next month. We'll put those together, and then again, if you're looking for service hours, we have all sorts of activities and stuff, guys. But get the word out to your teachers on what you guys are doing and stuff, and invite others and invite them to participate, because again, no one else is doing this but us. And you guys, you three are getting a lot of education, more than anybody else out there. So I appreciate you guys taking your Sundays and coming out here on this too. And anything you think we can do to help out, just let us know. All right.
Yeah, and guys, don't forget May 2nd at Sports Park is where we're going to be handing out those gift bags to the Laura's House people. So it might be interesting for you guys to
Your
come and
parents,
see that, and bring your friends.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. Be good.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Malva.
All right, let's see how I shut this off. Shut off my sync end. Oh, there it is.